Hello everybody, this is Jim Slim, and today I'm comparing LEGO Star Wars set number 75312, Boba Fett Starship, to LEGO Star Wars set number 75243, the 20th Anniversary Slave 1. In order to do this comparison, we're going to use this handy dandy comparison chart I just whipped up. We're going to compare the two sets on the categories of minifigures, playability, value, my personal opinion. Then at the end, we'll total up the points that each one gets. You know, since there's only two sets that we're comparing, one is either going to get a point or not get a point for each category. Now, right off the bat, comparing the minifigures in these two sets, LEGO set number 75312 came with only two minifigures. First minifigure being that brand new Boba Fett in his repainted armor with the unfortunately miscolored helmet and jetpack. It's a very detailed minifigure, since it seems for the titular characters in the spin-off series, they did include as much printing as possible, aside from side printing on the legs. But besides him, we only got one other minifigure, which is Mando with his full Beskar armor. This time they added the Beskar spear. That's the only really new thing for this one. Meanwhile, LEGO Star Wars set number 75243 came with a whopping 5 minifigures, and interestingly enough, they also included the Han Solo Carbonite minifigure piece as one of the minifigures on the box. I don't know if this one really counts, but it's a cool piece. But looking at the minifigures we get here, we got Boba Fett, sans arm printing. That's the only thing he's missing compared to his UCS and Master Builder series minifigure appearances. We got Zuckuss, Forlom, Han Solo, and the 20th Anniversary Princess Leia. No, Zuckuss, I believe it was actually the first time he appeared in a set. He has this awesome head mold. He has back printing even on this skirt leg piece. He has a lot of printing, you know, just no arm printing. Forlom is much the same, you know, very detailed printing. This awesome custom head mold that's very colorful on the eyes. Now, Han Solo, he's not overly detailed. You know, he doesn't have his side printing, but he does have a very good amount of printing. And I do believe on the back of his head, he also has a secondary face, which unfortunately is not his carbonite freezing face. It's just a serious face. And with the Princess Leia, you know, she's very simple is the way to put it, because she's just the 20th anniversary based on the original Princess Leia minifigure we got with the 20 years LEGO Star Wars on her back. Now, comparing the minifigures, it's obvious which set comes with more, but I don't think, given the fact that this set retails for $50 and this set retailed for $120 originally, I don't think that's going to be the make or break for either of these sets. But personally, I do feel like this set had the better minifigure selection, and here's why. In this set, you know, the one flaw with him is that we got this recycled molded helmet piece and jetpack piece. You know, we got the updated head that accurately reflects Temuera Morrison's appearance. But aside from that, you know, they did make a glaringly blatant mistake by not making his helmet and jetpack in the right repainted color. Whereas with this minifigure, you know, the only thing they didn't include on him was the arm printing, and that's because he's not the UCS version. And we did only have this angry clone face, which, you know, probably more accurately represent the original actor who played him. But we also got this shoulder cape piece, which obviously he doesn't wear in Book of Boba Fett, but just adds this nice added detail. And you know, that's just added value right there as well. Another thing about the minifigure selection in this set versus this set is that this set no longer has any exclusive minifigures. Full Beskar Mando has been available in multiple sets before and after this one was released. And now Boba Fett with his repainted armor is also available in Boba Fett's throne room. So this is no longer an exclusive minifigure. Whereas this set included multiple exclusive minifigures. Definitely, I did double check, and Zuckuss is absolutely an exclusive minifigure. It's ridiculous. This guy sitting right here right now is worth $40 according to Brickset. This minifigure, you know, with the 20th anniversary printing on the back, is also, you know, technically exclusive. She only came in this set. This Boba Fett right here actually appeared in 2 sets, so now he's exclusive to those 2 sets. But ultimately, given that this Mando now is pretty much a dime a dozen, and this Boba Fett is probably going to be the same way, given that we already have 2 sets based upon, you know, Mando Season 2 / Book of Boba Fett featuring this Boba Fett minifigure. I believe I'm going to have to give the nod to this set because it has 2 exclusive minifigures, 2 to 3 that are pretty hard to come by. So it is going to get the point. Number 75243 gets the point. Moving on from the minifigures, our next category is playability. And each one comes with similar but different play features. So first off, we notice that this one comes with the little cart build that doubles as a stand, just the way that the Phase 1 Clone Trooper Commander doubles as a clone pilot. You know, LEGO's all about multi-purpose minifigures and vehicles. But in addition to that, we do have these independently somewhat rotating cannons, as well as the cockpit, which has this unfortunate gap. We're talking about playability, not design. It does open up, and then Boba Fett can sit in there like so. I don't believe there's really a way to jam him down in any other orientation, but in order to close the cockpit, you're going to have to remove his weapon, and there's nowhere to put it. I mean, I guess you could just put it in here. Not really sure if that's what they intended for you to do, but in order to close this cockpit, you gotta do something with his rangefinder, because those do tend to be a bit oversized anyway. Is it seriously blocking this from closing? That's kind of ridiculous. I can't even close it with the rangefinder on. That is way too tight. Alright, that's just as much as it closes. Let's have it at least in front of his face. I mean, I guess you could have him flying around without his helmet on, but I do believe he usually flies around with his helmet on. So as you can see, this is a very tight, awkward cockpit, you know. I did like that they were able to scale this down to a $50 set, but it's kind of funky. So ultimately, the rangefinder gets pushed into an inaccurate position if you have him in the cockpit with it on, which is why I never have him in there like that, you know. But the other functionality that it does have dual stud shooters, which don't look too bad. And in addition to that, you can have the ship take off, the wings swing into position, and it has this little handle on the back, which, you know, is great for if you're doing what I'm doing right now and you're filming it. You know, it's got these, well, this isn't playability, but it's got these engine pieces on the back, but you can grab this little handle, swoosh it around. If you're using both hands to play, which you most likely are, not holding a camera, you can actually fire off the stud shooters while he's flying, so that's a nice play feature. But as far as play features go, that's all that set has to offer. Meanwhile, Big Boy Slave 1 over here, it has pretty similar features. It has these independently rotating cannons, which have a much greater range of movement than the ones on Boba Fett's Starship. It also has, you know, the cockpit unfortunately is not jointed, but I do like the way it attaches. You know, it's very simple. So actually, the fact about this one is that you can place Boba Fett down in there. This does seem to work best if you remove his blaster, which this model, I'm going to put this back on, actually has a holster for. On the back where we have a much more substantial handle, we also have these two clips near the bottom. Now, as you can see, I use one of them to hold my extra spring-loaded shooter ammunition, but they are intended to hold the two blasters, the one that Han Solo comes with and the one that Boba Fett comes with. So you can easily snap the blaster into place, and Boba Fett can go off to battle. And as you can see, when this ship takes off, his seat rotates along with the wing pieces. Rather than stud shooters, this version of the Slave 1 comes with two spring-loaded shooters, which can be fired off using these red triggers, which are intelligently well integrated into the back. In addition to that, another feature that the two sets share is that they both have a compartment for whoever you're transporting in carbonite. In the case of Boba Fett Starship, we have a difficult to remove Gamorrean Guard stickered piece in carbonite, which actually is a little easier to remove if you just kind of do that. But we do have this stickered brick, which has a Gamorrean Guard frozen in carbonite. Now, it's never shown that he's actually transporting one of these guys in Book of Boba Fett or Mandalorian as of the time the set was released, or as of the time I'm doing this review. But that was a nice little creative liberty that the designers took to include a little something extra. And in this one, you have this awesome Han Solo carbonite piece, which, as you may know, if you remove Han Solo's blaster, you can actually place him down inside of it. So Han Solo fits nice and snug up in this piece. You can easily stow him into the compartment here. So obviously it's a lot bigger than the one on Boba Fett Starship, and it works a lot better. You know, you actually have a minifigure. You unfortunately don't get a Gamorrean Guard, not that he would fit in even this piece that Han Solo fits inside of. But in terms of play features, this set also comes with the added feature of having this little cart, which you can have Boba Fett or Mando driving around and use as a display stand. Another thing you can do with it is you can place your piece of carbonite there, close this down, and drive it up to the ship, I suppose. So with all that being said, both sets are fairly neck and neck in terms of play features. It's actually impressive how many play features they fit into such a more compact model of Boba Fett Starship. But I think the fact that this one, rather than have a little cart / display stand, has the rotating cockpit, combined with the fact that you can also fit Han Solo inside of his carbonite piece, I believe they, for me, are going to give this set the slight edge. So once again, LEGO Star Wars set 75243 Slave 1 is going to get the point. Now, I've actually come to the conclusion as well. I believe I forgot a couple of categories. So I'm going to go ahead and cross this out, and I'm going to add in a design category. So in terms of design, which of these sets do I feel has a better design? Well, it's easy to say, snap, quick judgment, that bigger is better. This one has the better design. But is that necessarily true? Now, taking a look at this set, we do have this unfortunate gap when you have the cockpit piece closed. If you have it, standing upon its included display stand, which is actually kind of flimsy at best, it's very easy to knock this set off of here because it's not secured by anything. It just literally sits in place, which I will show you right now. you have to get the bottom lip wedged in here, and then this ladder piece just, it sits there. That's it. It doesn't clip into place. And if you move this around, it is very, it might fall off. Like, I actually knocked this off the stand before I started recording today. Anyway, point being that this does look better in this position. You know, for $50, it's really not that bad. Also, design-wise, another thing you'll note is that these stud shooters, they can be perceived as a bit less of an eyesore than these spring-loaded shooters. That's ultimately going to be subjective. I think these look cool, actually. But, you know, the fact that you can easily swap these stud shooters out for different pieces, if you so desire, and the fact that they're not just right in the middle of the build, that might be a good thing, actually. Another thing you'll note is that the green and gray design on the front is a lot more accurate to what we see in universe. Whereas here it seems to be greatly shifted down, and up here they just have kind of like the gray with the mixed in sand green faded paint. It seems to be way shifted down, whereas on this model it starts way higher up on the body of the ship. And it also has this extra added detail where it kind of slopes inwards on the bottom. Another thing to talk about when it comes to design is these flaps. These flaps are loose. Like, they look bad like this. They don't look perfect like this. They kind of look best like this. But then you still have this gap, which is kind of ugly. Whereas this is just completely brick built. So the slopes you have are the slopes you have. That's just what it is. One thing worth noting as well is that, you know, in order to get this slope, they were able to achieve it using two pieces, interestingly enough, on this model. Whereas on this model, they use, like, maybe 3 separate pieces. No, that's a bit more layered. It is still 2 pieces, but, you know, it's interesting seeing the difference there. Another difference to note is actually a similarity. I do like what they did on both of these, where they have the actual wing supports going up into the body of the ship underneath these shoulder pieces. It is the same for both. You know, it's obviously different, but they do have the feature on both sets. It's kind of nice that here it's a bit of a tighter gap, whereas here it's more open. But notably on the UCS Slave one, they don't have a gap. They just have a black plate that the wing supports attach onto. Another thing to note in terms of design is that the back of this ship, which you may not see very much, actually looks very good. So, as you can see, there's not really any obscene gaps. You have more of the engine, which on this set, interestingly enough, you have less of the engine, and you have this gap where you can see the back of Boba Fett. So that wouldn't be very good in space, but also it's definitely, you can see it's a very big gap, even more so when you have the handle extended outwards. And, you know, that's just probably the limitation of how they built this. They use so many bricks for the handle, and then when you couldn't really put anything behind it, because when it sits down, those have to go at that angle. Not really much you could do about that. And another thing is that now we know that the orange engines, the orange thrusters, are more accurate than this blue. Although the blue is not ugly, I do actually like it. Another big thing I'm going to note when it comes to design is the fact that it has those 2 weapon holster clips, whereas this build has no weapon holster clips, you know. Honestly, I don't even think you're supposed to put the blaster like I did, you know. It's just, it was just a spot I found to put it. And finally, the last thing to note is the cockpit. Now, it is nice that they used the tinted window because, as we see in the show, in the movies, he got tints. But over here, you know, let's just use a clear cockpit piece, which it's not rounded off. But the trade-off is that being completely transparent, this is better for displayability because if you do have it in its flying position, which you can actually put this on a shelf, or it can actually stand up to a certain degree. You can actually see Boba Fett inside of the cockpit, but then you see that unsightly gap behind him. So ultimately, design-wise, it is a tough decision, and I'm not sure that I can choose. I do believe, and also the other thing, also with playability, the carbonite piece in this just feels like a better design than slapping a sticker on a brick. So with all that being said, I may have to once again give the nod to this set. Although, interestingly enough, they did make some improvements on this design. So, I believe this is actually going to have to be a draw. And now I realize I put those check marks in the wrong category. Design is a draw. But speaking of the value category, now looking at these two sets, starting with the newer Boba Fett Starship, we do get 593 pieces for $50 compared to this set where we got 1,007 pieces for $120. So obviously the price per piece goes in favor of the $50 set, although when you factor in the fact that this set came with what is officially regarded on Brickset as 6 minifigures versus the 2 minifigures this one came with, price per piece doesn't seem to be as much of an issue anymore. In addition, when you consider the fact that this Boba Fett Starship is about half the size of this Slave one, yet it's less than half the price, I do believe the value category may have to go to Boba Fett Starship. So let's go ahead, put that point on the board. And last but not least, we've already talked about, a lot of this has been my personal opinion, but now we're going to talk about my overall personal opinion, which is which set do I like better. And even though, this one comes with Mando, whom I don't know if anyone was really asking for full Beskar Mando after we got him in 2 other sets, in the same year. It would have been nice to either get Fennec Shand, who they decided to put in Moff Gideon's light cruiser instead, or rather than her, we could have also gotten one of the characters that we did not receive that we saw board this aircraft. We could have gotten Miggs Mayfeld, for instance. We still haven't received him as a minifigure. Whereas with this set, they included not only whom you might expect, with being Boba Fett and Han Solo, but they included 2 whole other bounty hunters, one of them being an exclusive minifigure, as well as OG Princess Leia herself. And for me, minifigures are going to play a huge role, no matter what the designers of LEGO say about them being a bonus in the set. One of the main reasons for purchasing a set is going to be minifigures, so that's going to greatly sway my opinion. Another thing swaying my opinion is that better design on having a place to hold Boba Fett's blaster while he's flying the Starship, rather than just throwing it on the side like an added weapon. The one thing this set has going for it that this one does not, other than that gap in the back of the ship that you're not going to see too often, is the fact that it comes with its own, albeit flimsy, stand feature. While this one does not, it would be nice to have a stand to put this one on display on, but you could actually just make your own stand, and it's not really that big of a deal. Ultimately, I do feel like this one is more accurate to minifig scale. This one is very obviously shrunken down. Now, obviously, the UCS Slave one is the one that's most perfectly minifig scale, but that one is nigh unattainable at this point. They really do need to bring that one back, given the fact that Book of Boba Fett is out. They could redesign it, or they could just throw in more minifigures, from either Book of Boba Fett, Mandalorian. Ultimately, if these were both on store shelves at their original retail price, and I had to choose between this one and this one, I would choose this one any day. So for that reason, the original set 75243 is going to win my opinion vote. So finally racking up the total, set number 75312 Boba Fett Starship only got 2 points, whereas set number 75243 20th Anniversary Slave 1 got 1, 2, 3, 4 points. So ultimately, set number 75243 does win the comparison. But as I said, this has been completely opinion based. You know, this one you can still get for $50 if it's not on sale. I do believe Walmart has it for about $40 at this point. So you could either go over there and pick it up, or I will be throwing an affiliate link in the description if you do want to support the channel and you don't mind paying full retail price. Whereas this one will run you, according to Brickset, approximately $191 new or $168 used. But with all that being said, let me know if you guys enjoyed this video. I'm definitely trying to do more things than just reviews. Smash that like button, leave a comment. Let me know, did you guys pick up either of these sets? Are you meaning to? How do you feel? What's your opinion on it? Let me know all that down in the comments below. Also be sure to subscribe for more quality YouTube content. But with all that being said, this is Jim to the Slim, signing out.
I will teach you. This is the way. How to ride. Like a panther. Like a panther.